All right, Tracy Banks is gang stalking with Ontario police, and there they are flying over. That's the fake son. While the Ontario police and the Ontario International Airport, they're trying to flee. They just flew over the apartment building. They're doing so while I'm capturing engineer Light on Tracy Banks' living room. She's stalking in the path. She's right there in the parking lot with her brake lights on. She's gang stalking with Ontario PD. She's doing so while inside of the apartment. Impossible Light scanning across her ceiling as I research Derek Williams, who's engaged in the same state surveillance that the Ontario police has been engaged in since, as a matter of documentation, since 2018. This is the same apartment building. This is Light activity speaking to the immediacy of the fake son. This is the same apartment where they're flying over my head while it's over the top of my head at 10:54 in the morning. That's called relevant positioning by a gang stalking police department. It's all Impossible Light. And this is again witnessing Tracy Banks is going to a mental asylum for gang stalking her daughter, whom she's criminally defaming with the Ontario police. So understand, the Ontario police officers are going to federal prison. Tracy Banks is going to be subject to confinement, and the son's not going to be over the same building where it was right here at what was 10:54 a.m. when those demons flew over my head. While they fly over the apartment, the entity is amplifying the sound of helicopter activity, and Tracy Banks is stalking in the path just like that demon is. That's called light activity when you're in engineered light under a fake sun that's over the same building. That's the significance of keeping it over an apartment complex. Tracy Banks hurried home, left her vehicle in the parking lot with the hazard lights on, walked inside, molested me with engineered light in doing so, and then is pacing inside of the apartment, and then she walks back. That's what you'll see in the pictures. She walks back to the vehicle that has hazard lights on, and she's doing so while I capture this Impossible Light activity in images. This is my shadow appearing at a distance away from me, and there's more than one of them. Where I'm at, I'm standing apart, a distance away in the living room, and this is all shade. This is what the Ontario police are gang stalking in. And they're doing so with knowledge of what I'm documenting. So that is they're already surrounded with a case for gang stalking as a department. They're exposed for what are being demons, engaging in public corruption with Tracy Banks, who is gang stalking her daughter that she seeks to criminally defame and murder. She is doing so with the entity that is being documented in real time. So that's not only the gang stalker, the terrorist, but that's the gang stalker and terrorist that knows that they're being documented. The absence of coincidence of my shadows appearing on the inside under a covered structure, under an idle fake sun that has nothing to do with what is engineered light that manifests out of nowhere. Tracy Banks, 9HUZ740, is gang stalking. She walks into the apartment, turns these lights on, paces in the apartment, and then walks back outside, monitoring with the Ontario police, engaging in what is a documented act of retaliation, just like she did with Eric Spencer. And it's, moments after she leaves, the entity flies over by helicopter. Eric Spencer is going to federal prison. All right, he's gang stalking with this witch that's spiritually attacking, and these demons that are engaging in witchcraft with her, the Ontario Police Department, both under the corrupt leadership of that demon Derek Williams and the current corrupt leadership of that demon Mike Lorenz. They're both done with law enforcement, and they are engaging in the pattern of conduct, and they're to be disbanded. Their obsession with stalking me and monitoring, and they're also violent sex offenders keeping my genitalia under surveillance with this predator, this pedophile Tracy Banks, who was gang stalking, is going to be appropriately labeled. This is Impossible Light under the fake sun while she's monitoring, walking in the apartment. P.O.C. Alrighty, your shadow's not going to appear at a distance inside of the apartment. This is malice, just like what you demonstrated when you are on a communication device in that engineered light in the building where the sun is remaining over it for 11 hours in the day. And this is again the psychopaths that are threatening your life and safety. This same duo of psychopaths, the Ontario police, in concert with the corrupt courts, engaged in what is theft of my property, engaged in what is defamation of my reputation, engaged in what is the fraudulent and criminal tactics of trying to secretly control my life and my life circumstances, unbeknownst to me, because of course you can't do that to somebody who's a licensed attorney and somebody who could litigate you out of the room when I speak, and if I knew about it, and now that I'm exposing it, that's why they're going to prison. That's not a civil violation. That's not an accident committed by a court. That is the pattern of conduct of seeking to criminally defame while their mental illness is being shared. They're both together as a police department and as a population. That's what this demon walking in the apartment represents. This is somebody of the population whose name I know, and that's just putting her more securely in what is a federal facility. That's going to be a mental asylum in particular. 10:54 a.m. and what is 5:44 p.m. Mike Lorenz is directly acting with regard to targeting me specifically, as my documentation already shows. That fake sun being over me for the duration of the day, which never in the natural environment even arrived in Florida or in Texas or in Northern California over Eric Spencer. The entity is gang stalking. Gang stalking your relatives equals federal prison. It's the diabolical level of malice as well. You are maliciously and intentionally criminally defaming the targeted individual whom you are targeting targeting with that government. And furtherance of murder and kidnapping in the specific environment is what supports and proves that. This is P.O.C. That's Ontario Police gang stalking in video under the fake sun that's remaining over the building where the demon-possessed over 55 unemployed and gang stalking on a ceaseless basis, and in the ways in which I'm documenting on an ongoing basis. Also, surveillance on the video of the internet. This is P.O.C.